When I started making these small videos of my childhood memories with the NES, I thought I would have a lot more stories to tell. Turns out, I really didn't. When writing it down, most of what I had to say about NES games was just explaining the game's plot only to add, "Yeah, it's pretty fun," at the end, which doesn't exactly make for a very interesting video. So instead, I figured I'd squeeze everything I have left to say about the NES into a top 10 list. Of course, this isn't the last time I'll talk about the NES. I eventually came back and played a lot more of its library, including some RPGs my dad really enjoyed. So I'll save what I have to say about those games like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy for another time. But for now, here's my top 10 favorite games my uncle lent me for the NES when I was a kid. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Use a guidebook. There was this little mom and pop video store my dad would sometimes take me to rent movies from. The game selection wasn't exactly great, it was mostly old sports games and whatever nobody else wanted anymore, but they also had a few arcade machines, which was the reason I liked going. One of the arcade games I spent a lot of time playing was 1943. It took a couple of tries to get into it, but because it only cost $1, I had a lot of continues to get good. And I ended up really enjoying it. So when my dad noticed how much fun I was having, he asked the owner if they had an NES copy of this game. The owner disappeared for a few minutes, came back with a cartridge, and said, "Here you go." We got back home, I popped it into the NES, and what is this? This isn't the game I played. This played slower, the graphics were flatter, the music sounded like random beeps. Like, what happened? Then, sometime later, my uncle showed up with another stack of games, and in that stack was 1943. I immediately grabbed it, ready to complain about how much worse it was than the arcade version. But then I noticed the cover art was different. So before complaining, I turned around, popped it in, and this is the game I played on the arcade machine. Turns out, the game we rented was 1942, not 1943. My kid brain just saw two big numbers and mistakenly thought they were the same. Everything in 1943 was better. The music, the graphics, the controls. This actually felt like the arcade game I remembered. It wasn't as pretty as the arcade version, but it was still a great game. At first, I didn't like Contra because it was a ridiculously hard game. Then I was told the Konami code, and suddenly, what a game. Without the Konami code, I think I only got as far as a snow level. There were just too many enemies spawning from every direction. With it, I had a bit of leeway to act foolish and still beat the game. Only for my uncle to hand me Super C and say, "This is what happens next." I don't really know what else to say about it. It's basically more Contra, just a little tougher and better. The only problem I had with it was that they changed the Konami code. Instead of up, up, down, down, you know the rest. It became right, left, down, up, AB, which, like with the first Contra, I really needed. I loved watching the Ninja Turtles cartoons and movies as a kid, so when my uncle brought over the arcade games, I kinda freaked out about it. They were a little tough at first, until my uncle decided to hop in and help. These games turned out to be some awesome simple two-player side-scrolling beat-em-ups. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play them for very long because after playing a lot of the first one and a bit of the second, we decided to take a small break. He assumed that once I returned, I was gonna pop something else in, so took the game out and placed the game next to the stack, meant to go back home with him. So eventually, he accidentally took them. Still, for the short time we played, they were incredibly fun. Like 1943, I first played this one on one of the rental store's arcade machines. Only, it wasn't called Bomberman. It was called Atomic Punk. For whatever reason, that game always put me into this weird, almost zen-like trance, kinda like Tetris. I could just switch my brain off and keep blowing up blocks and monsters until I ran out of quarters. So I spoke to my uncle about it, who said, I think I have those games. And the following week, he came back with Bomberman and Bomberman 2. The first Bomberman was a game. Honestly, I had the same feeling with Bomberman than I did when I first popped 1942 in. I could see the similarities, but I didn't like it. Then I tried Bomberman 2. This was far better, and was when I realized Atomic Punk was Bomberman. Personally, I still like playing Atomic Punk more. Still, I think Bomberman 2 was one of the few games I actually asked if we could keep for another week since I liked it so much. I don't hear many people talking about this game, which is a shame because it's actually pretty good. It almost feels like someone just made an easier Mega Man, but with a Native American boy using a spear instead of an arm cannon. And, like Mega Man, you can tackle the stages in any sequence and earn a new ability after each completed level. Sure, Mega Man still is the better game, but as a kid, I actually liked Wampum far more. Mostly because it was easier. My uncle was my main source of NES games back then. So when he eventually traded away his NES collection for a newer console, I was a little disappointed. However, my mom did purchase a few before he sold them. She picked up Zelda, Kid Icarus, Tetris 2, I think The Little Mermaid, and best of all, Super Mario Bros. 3. I didn't even know Mario 3 existed. My first console was the NES, but by the time I got it, I was already a couple of generations behind. The PlayStation was already out, and because of that, I never saw those wild Mario ads or experienced the Mario 3 hype. I just thought it was Mario 1, 2, then World. Because of this, next time I saw my uncle, I had to ask, what the hell? I asked him, why have you never brought this game over before? He just looked at me and said, well, your mom told me that you already played the Mario games, so I figured you already played this one too.
I thought you had it! No!
Fair enough. Still, he brought the original Mario Bros. For us to play once, so I was still a little frustrated that he brought that Mario, yet not this one, even though I played the Mario games. Otherwise, once I booted it up, everything in Mario 3 just felt magical. Every new world introduced some completely different idea. You'd go from grassy fields to underground caves, giant deserts, icy landscapes, and even climbing a tower halfway through what feels like a normal level to reach the clouds. It felt like every time the game started getting familiar, it would throw another curveball at you. Dry Bones, Big Berthas, a variety of bosses, thwomps, chain chomps, boos, and angry suns. My favorite world though was Giant Land. Seeing how everything suddenly became enormous was such a cool, fun idea, and I liked how doors in those levels would also shrink everything back to its regular size. Little moments like that made every world feel memorable. Even my least favorite world, the water world, had things I enjoyed. I thought it was so fun that you could hop on a tiny ship, sail to a couple of small islands, and stock up on extra lives and power-ups. These islands almost felt like an apology for making you slog through so many water-centric levels. Then there were all the different routes you could take. There are around 90 stages, but you didn't need to play every single one to beat a world. In fact, every time I came back after beating Mario 3, I'd take a different path to skip some of my least favorite levels and reach the castle quicker. The only problem I have with this game on the NES is that it didn't have a save feature. Instead, you had to look for hidden warp whistles, some of which are simple to find, others not so much. I remember some family members showing me how to find a couple of them. One involved ducking on a white block for 10 seconds, which would then send you behind the foreground, while the other one required you to fly over the top of the screen within the first fortress. And when questioning how they figured this out, all they said was Nintendo Power and the Wizard. That's probably my only complaint. Otherwise, it's a fantastic game. If there's one thing from those last few months I had with the NES that stayed with me all these years, it's playing Tetris and Super Mario Bros. 3 with the family. Those games became more than just games. They became some of my favorite memories. Yeah, it's pretty fun.